Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this special weekend, which is a special weekend unlike I've done before. It's a whole different exploration of a way of exploring a piece of music this weekend. Why do I say that? Because we are exploring one song. Well, what's the big deal? You've done that before. You've done a song with a cover. Well, this weekend, it's not a cover by a different band. This weekend, it is the same song by the same band, but they created two different versions of it. The song I've chosen to treat this way is Moody Blues' Nights in White Satin. And yesterday we heard the shorter version. Now today we hear a different version, which I understand is longer, but I don't know much else about it yet. But this idea kind of intrigues me because it's something that we run into even in the classical world. Take, for instance, the great and famous Handel's Messiah work, which is a long work with lots and lots of different pieces in it. Handel created multiple variants of that throughout his life for various different performances. It seems like he was modifying it several times, and for that reason, in the classical world, when somebody wants to put on a performance of Handel's Messiah and they want to do the authentic version, it's rather difficult to decide what is really the one and only authentic version, because guess what? He was constantly revising it and adjusting things, maybe for a singer, maybe for and so it's interesting to notice how an artist develops and how the artistic creation evolves over time as he revisits and rehandles it. This is sort of the same thing. It seems that Moody Blues have two different versions of it, one shorter, one longer. I have a little bit to read about what I'm listening to today, and then we'll explore this longer version and see how did they handle it differently. Well, I see that the title of today's version is not simply Nights in White Satin, but it is Nights in White Satin, Late Lament. The spoken word poem heard near the 6-minute mark of the album version of the song is called Late Lament. Drummer Graham Edge wrote the verses, which were recited by keyboardist Mike Pinder. While it has been commonly known as part of Nights in White Satin with no separate credit on the original LP, Late Lament was given its own listing on the 2-LP compilation This Is the Moody Blues in 1974 and again in 1987, without its parent song, on another compilation, Prelude. From 1992 through the early 2000s, the Moody Blues toured with shows backed by live orchestras. When with the orchestral accompaniment, they often took the opportunity to include Late Lament in the performance of Nights in White Satin. On these occasions, Edge recited it himself since Pinder had left the band. So here again, we have this sort of, all right, it first appeared as one piece, Nights in White Satin, without any separate name credit. And then, a few years later, other albums released it with its own identity. Okay, so at that point we can say, maybe they have decided that it really ought to be a separate standalone piece. We should respect that and treat Nights in White Satin on its own, Late Lament on its own. But hold on, because now, moving further down the road, later performances, 90s through the early 2000s, they have put it back together with Nights in White Satin. So now it is being treated again as one whole entity rather than two separate. So this is really a great example of the sort of puzzles that we have to deal with in classical music too. And I'm sure that we could get into all kinds of arguments and discussions about, should we treat it this way? Should we relate to it this way? Whatever. I'm not going to try to go there. I know from experience how futile those can be. At the same time, how sometimes enlightening they can be, educational they can be. But today, I simply want to enjoy and explore and experience this version of Nights in White Satin, which Moody Blues obviously did create and did approve of and did perpetuate over time. So let's see how it sounds. Certainly orchestral. And moody bluesy.
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. Beauty I'd always missed with these
I remember
eyes
this.
before.
That little
Just what
ethereal,
truth is,
ephemeral
I can't say anymore.
instrumentation.
'Cause I love you. Yes, I love you. Oh, I love you. Gazing at people, some hand in hand. Just what I'm going through, they can understand. Some try to tell me thoughts they cannot defend. Just what you want to be, you will be in the end. And I love you. Yes, I love you. Oh, I love you.
I love that little chromatic slide down there.
Nights in white satin.
You know, I think one of the things that is probably special about this piece, not unique, but special regardless, is how incredibly singable the instrumental parts are, almost to the point of, you know, when we hear that organ come in, when we hear the strings come in, da 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 da, we almost find ourselves singing with that more than with the sung part of the melody. And it's so interesting to hear something which is more melodically attractive, and not just melodically attractive. We hear this, and actually, let's see, this was released in '67. Isn't that the same year as the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour albums? I mean, that's kind of a big year, and here come the Moody Blues out with this. And I happen to be in the middle of exploring those albums with the Beatles right now, and so I can't help but start noticing comparisons and things like that. And I'm thinking about something like this with, say, for example, well, we could go with the Fool on the Hill, and how that has a vocal part and a flute part, and I so enjoyed that in that Beatles piece. But here, well, with that Beatles piece, we still sing the vocal part more strongly, even though the flute part is just breathtaking and so perfectly suited. We sing the vocal part. Here, I find my ears gravitating towards the instrumental part. And I hear the vocal part being sung, okay, nice enough, but da 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 da. It just wants to carry your voice with it, doesn't it?
Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. Beauty I've always missed with these eyes before. Just what the truth is, I can't say anymore, 'cause I love you. Yes, I love you. Oh, I love you.
And I love the way the strings echo that, oh.
'Cause I love you. Yes, I love you. Oh, I love you.
Sounds like he's just calling out to the universe, through the universe at this point. Back to the orchestral stuff. Really sounds like English romantic orchestral music. Do. Oh, that's kind of fun down there. Piano in there? Ooh, this could be Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker.
Breathe deep the gathering gloom. Watch lights fade from every room. Bedsitter people look back and lament. Another day's useless energies spent. Impassioned lovers wrestle as one. Lonely man cries for love and has none. New mother picks up and settles her son. Senior citizens wish they were young. Cold-hearted orb that rules the night removes the colours from our sight. Red is grey and yellow white, but we decide which is right and which is an illusion.
I feel like I should start by saying so many of you, as I said yesterday, so many of you have told me and urged me to listen to Nice and White Satin, and you've been waiting and waiting for this moment. Well, now I've done it twice in a row, right? It's a great example of how re-listening to a piece of music can really deepen our appreciation for it. But I think more than that, sometimes a piece of music is great. It's good. It's nice. Nice and White Satin, as I listened yesterday, was nice. And I said so. And I enjoyed it. This version of it is far better in that regard. Somehow, yes, it takes it to a little bit more theatrical, performative style, because where else, when else are you going to hear a piece, a bit of poetry recited in such a manner with such blatant profundity, with orchestral backing, enhancing, it is kind of stage performance style. But I feel like it really does a great job of taking the song part and enhancing it, taking it somewhere. You heard me comment towards the end of the song how it sounds like, now it sounds like he's singing out through the entire universe. I love you, and it does. Oh, how I love you, but to whom and where? It's just going out into the entire universe as if it's in search of some target which perhaps doesn't exist anymore. And it ended like that yesterday. This sort of open, searching, okay, I'm calling out, it's all intense, oh, I love you, but where does that love go except to just dissipate and spread through the entire universe? It doesn't have any point of rest, point of arrival. The recited poetry afterwards took advantage of that. We've broadened our view to the entire universe, and the text, the poetic text, was looking at it from this grand perspective, and how the line towards the end, the cold orb, whatever it was, basically referring to the moon, is merciless. It's cold. It has no, it turns everything cold and white. But it is up to us to decide what is true. Is it cold and white, or silver and gray, whatever it said, or is it warm yellow? And it is up to us to decide which one is true. And these lines, lonely man cries for love and has none, that feels like it's reflecting all that the song had in it. Oh, how I love you. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. It just links the two together, but then it takes it further. As I said, it takes it into this grand universal view. New mother picks up and suckles her son. Senior citizens wish they were young. And then comes this last portion. Cold-hearted orb. Yes, that's what the lyrics, that's what the poem reads. Cold-hearted orb that rules the night, removes the colors from our sight. And as I was hearing that, it was somehow linked to this line, senior citizens wish they were young, and lonely man cries for love and has none. The idea that as we age, our vision is compromised as well. We can't see as well. And so it's not just the fact that we're in the night, but somehow it felt like it was also dealing with this topic of age and aging and love. Red is gray and yellow is white. Think of red, passion, love, turns gray. Red is gray. And yellow is white, warmth, sunshine, white. But we decide which is right and which is an illusion. It feels so much like this is a sort of staged, theatrical, grand, but beautiful expression of how it is to become old and lonely and still to love, whether it is the memory of one who is gone now, or the fact that we are still alive and young within us. If we take the decision to decide, are we going to be old and gray, or are we going to be full of red and yellow, full of passion and warmth, even in our old, gray, white phase of life? And this sort of grandiose handling of this, I don't feel like it was overdone. I feel like it was, bordering on the sentimental, but beautifully done. And the sort of thing that, if I were watching a theatrical performance dealing with these topics, this would fit right in there so beautifully and would carry such a lovely, great, powerful message. And actually, I'd like to see something like that developed. I can just imagine performing something like that to an audience of older people, and maybe seeing as they watch this and as they are reminded of this, maybe seeing it sort of empower them and reignite a will within them, the spark within them that exists in every single one, somewhere hidden in there, to be full and rich, even as your body is failing you. That's what I got from this performance, far more than the performance yesterday. And I find it a beautiful portrayal, a beautiful message, a beautiful thought, and very beautifully set. So, well, that's the power of context, the power of orchestra, setting the mood with the music, setting this grand universal message, sending it out to the universe, and at the same time bringing it down and giving it to each person individually. And I guess I can close by saying, my wish is that each of you, whether you choose to or not, each of you will know that within you lies red and yellow, not just gray and white. My best wishes to you all. I'll see you soon.